Good morning. I am Sir Derek Lareta, and I'll be discussing about the philosophy of human person, quarter one, module three. So let us proceed with the module. The human person as embodied spirit. In the previous modules, module one and module two, we discussed about doing philosophy and what is philosophy. We also discussed about quarter two on how to distinguish truths and facts. So how can we determine about truths? There are different fallacies, and we have discussed that already from the previous video. Now let us proceed with the module three, the human person as an embodied spirit. So is there any difference between the spirit and the body? And who controls the body? Is it the mind or the spirit? So, and we will be discussing also about the limitations of men in this topic. So at the end of this module, you should be able to, one, recognize how the human body imposes limits and possibilities for transcendence, and two, evaluate own limitations and the possibilities of their transcendence. So identify the concepts that are stated below. Write your answers on your notebook. And then it is a term used to distinguish man from other beings such as animals, plants, and other existing beings. Two, it is the most important element of being a person, which allows us to understand reality and go beyond what is present. Number three, this is the basis of our recognition of human dignity. Number four, it is the ability of man to surpass his or her limits. And five, it signifies the integration of body and soul. Okay, right, true if the statement is correct and false if it is incorrect. Man is superior in all aspects as against other existing being. Is it true or false? Then loving someone is an example of transcendence, true or false? Knowing and understanding oneself is also an example of transcendence. 9, all limitations of man prevents man to have a meaningful existence. And man is responsible for all his limitations. 11, Juan de la Cruz does not have a laptop. Therefore, he will not be able to learn the lessons in his classes. 12, Juana de la Cruz has a laptop. Therefore, she will get a perfect score in all her assessment tests. 13, setting aside an hour to study your lesson, even if you are working this quarantine period, is an example of transcendence. 14, excessive playing of online games limits a student to read and finish the activities in this module. Then 15, we can never be at different places at the same time, even with the use of our imagination. So that is either true or false. The human person as embodied spirit, it states that the human person has deemed among the central topics of discussion since the beginning of philosophy. Philosophers from the pre-Socratic era to the 21st century continue to seek and understand the nature of man. What is it to be a human, and what sets man from other beings or things that are existing? In the previous module, ways of doing philosophy and the ability of man to search, understand, and grasp the truth were discussed. Through the activities, you will be able to exercise characteristics of man as a thinking being. As such, you were taught on how to know and separate true from untrue arguments. In this module, the other nature of man, of the human person as an embodied spirit, will be discussed. Through the activities, you'll be able to understand and answer questions like, what is the meaning of a person as an embodied spirit? How does man recognize his or her limitations, and how does man transcend? So these were the activities taken. This is the activity that was taken from the previous lesson. This is just a background checking. Then let us proceed with this activity. So reflect on yourself as a human being by doing this activity called by self in the eyes of the other. write your answer in a clean sheet of paper. So, gagawin niyo lang dito, mag-draw kayo ng kamay, bakatin niyo yung kamay dun sa clean sheet of paper, and then in each finger, mag-a-ask kayo ng different person. Halimbawa, nanay, tatay, ate, kuya, bunso. Or friend, or kapitbahay, or guardian, or whatsoever, or whoever it is. Then, nakalagay naman dyan sa baba, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halimbawa, yung thumb finger, parent or guardian. Pointing finger, sibling or relative. The middle finger is a friend. The ring finger is a classmate, and then the fifth finger is neighbor. So, ask them how they see you as a person, whether it's a negative or a positive attitude, you will write it. Then, what is a great spiritual practitioner? A person who lives always in the presence of his or her own true self. Someone who has found and who uses continually the springs and sources of profound inspiration. As a modern English writer, Lewis Thompson wrote, Christ, supreme poet, lived with so passionately that every gesture of his at once pure act and perfect symbol embodies the transcendent. To embody the transcendent is why we are here. Okay. Man as embodied spirit. So, in order to fully understand the nature of the human person as embodied spirit, we must have a general understanding about the terms used. Let us first discuss what do we mean by embodied. According to Merriam Dictionary, embody means to give a body to, or to a spirit, or to represent in human or animal form. Embodied therefore means something is given concrete form, materialized or incorporated to a body. So how do you explain? For example, you embodied the simplicity of a true Filipina beauty. So what does it mean? Kumbaga, halimbawa, sinabi natin that is the statement. You embodied the simplicity, the picture, or the simplicity of a Filipina beauty. That statement, we figure out ano ba yung itsura or ano ba ibig sabihin ng Filipina beauty. Saan natin siya binigyan ng form sa pamamagitan ng tao. Halimbawa, Janice has embodied the picture of a true Filipina beauty. Yung term na Filipina beauty ay ikinabit natin or inilarawan natin sa pamamagitan ng tao. Then, what is a spirit? Spirit, meaning Merriam-Webster dictionary defines spirit as an animating or vital principle held to give life, to physical organisms. In a similar fashion, it refers to the characteristics of a person that is considered as being separate from the body. Okay. And the many religions believe continue to exist after the body dies. Among the terms used to mean spirit are soul, psyche, mind, and atman. Okay, so spirit, it says it is an animating or vital principle. Ito yung nagbibigay daw ng buhay sa isang physical organism. For example, ang tao, without the spirit, the body will not function because it is the spirit that gives life to the body. Then, what do we mean by embodied spirit? Initially, when we say embodied spirit, we are referring to a spirit, an immaterial entity having a body. Embodied spirit, ibig sabihin daw nun ay, it means that a spirit is incarnated or incorporated to a body. Ibig sabihin ng incorporated, andoon na. Kaya nga, ang tao ay nakapaloob sa katawan ng tao ang kanyang kaluluwa. Because, with as I've said, immaterial entity, an immaterial entity having a body. So yung ating espiritu ay immaterial. Why it is immaterial? Because you cannot touch it. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. You cannot feel it. Because it is inside, or it is incarnated or incorporated to a body. So without the spirit, the body will not function. However, embodied spirit in the context of philosophy refers to the inseparable union of the body and the spirit. Likewise, both are also integrated in this sense. We do not only exist physically but spiritually. Our actions, feelings, and thinking do not affect our physical body, but also our spiritual nature. Embodiment thus enables us to do and experience all the things that make us human persons. It says that man is a limited being. Question: do you believe that man has limitations? And in what way do we say that we are limited? It is an acceptable idea that human beings are higher in nature than other existing beings like animals and plants. Everyone will agree on that statement na pinakamataas na nilalang ang tao sa lahat ng anumang uri dito sa mundo, whether it is plants or animals. What is the difference between or among these creatures? Ano ang pinagkaiba? Bakit mas mataas na uri na nilalang ang tao kaysa sa hayop, kaysa sa halaman, kaysa sa mga insekto? It is because in a simple statement that men are rational being. What do you mean by a rational being? Men are able to think and to reason out. Dahil lahat ng tao ay may kakayahan na mag-isip at mag-reason out, mag-create ng reason. So in this sense, ito yung pinagkaiba. That's why we are the highest form na creature sa mundo, because we are able to think and to reason out. However, there are strengths of other beings that are limited to man. Some animals have superior physical abilities in terms of the strength, eyesight, and other uses of their senses. Likewise, man is limited in him herself, that it cannot be both at different places at the same time, cannot travel from one country to another, or communicate with relatives from other places without the use of technologies. Okay. In this sense, we are limited in different things that we are not that supreme in all aspects. What do you mean by that? That we are not all supreme? The statement that we cannot travel, sabi niya, we cannot be at the same, it cannot be both at the different places at the same time. For example, hindi natin kakayanin na we are here in the Philippines and at the same time will be existing in America. We cannot also, like animals, na they have the gift of sense that they can feel that they are already in danger. We cannot also do other things that animals can do. For example, the characteristics of a lion or a tiger, hindi natin kaya ang kanilang mga ginagawa or yung kanilang skill as a lion or as a tiger. Why we cannot do that? Because we are humans and we are limited. Limited in a sense na kahit tayo yung pinakamataas na nilalang, meron pa rin tayong limitation. For example, ikaw sa sarili mo, you also have your limitations to different things. May mga bagay na kaya yung kaklase mo na hindi mo kayang gawin at may mga bagay na kaya mong gawin na hindi naman kayang gawin ng mga kaklase mo. And in that sense, also, technology leaves us some barriers, and also in other way or in some other way, these technologies can also help us to surpass our limitations. For example, we have our relatives in USA. To communicate with them, we use technology. So the technology has helped us to surpass our limitation on communicating with them. Sa pamamagitan ng teknolohiya ay nakakapag-communicate tayo at nalalagpasan natin yung limitation ng communication sa ating kamag-anak sa iba. Because through the help of this technology, we were able to surpass these limitations to communicate with them. And man is also a transcendental being. Okay. Ano ba yung transcendental? Although man is limited, man can overcome his or her limitations. So ang sabi niya, kahit daw ang tao ay may tinatawag na may limitasyon, pero yung limitasyon na ito ay kaya niyang i-surpass or ma-overcome. This ability is called transcendence. So transcendence originated from the Latin words trans, meaning go beyond, and scandare, meaning climb. Transcendence meaning climb beyond. It is the ability of man to experience reality beyond what the physical body allows him to be. A person can travel to the past, to the future, or to other places without actually going there. We can travel through the use of our imagination. Likewise, transcendence also means understanding, overcoming, and being in control of the one self. Being able to control the self means that we are able to identify our limitations and we make developments in order to change ourselves for the better. Regardless of our status in life, we open ourselves to new experiences and ideas in order to have a meaningful existence. Okay. For example, ano ba yung tinatawag na transcendence? Sabi niya, yung transcendence daw is you go beyond your limitations or you overcome your limitations. For example, ikaw yung estudyante na laging nakikitaan ng nahihiya ka if you stand in front of the class. And one day, your advisor has asked you or has given you a task to speak in front of your classmate. Because of series of practice and you allow yourself to be criticized during the practice to improve your performance, and you have presented yourself well in front of the class, meaning you transcend. Ibig sabihin nun, nagawa mo ng maayos, nakapag-present ka ng maayos, ibig sabihin, nagkaroon ka ng transcendence. Why? Because yung dating hindi mo nagagawa, you open yourself to this challenge and you surpass this challenge, meaning you have transcend yourself. Meaning, pagka nag-transcend ka, ikaw ay nagbago from good to better. Mas mahirap yung nagbago ka from good to bad, because transcendence is transforming yourself from good to better and from better to best. That is transcendence. Pagbabago, aside from pagbabago, is you are surpassing your limitations from being good into better. Ano pa? Example. Before, hindi ka laging nagbabasa, hindi ka laging gumagawa ng assignment, hindi ka laging gumagawa ng modules. You just let things pass. Bahala na, okay na. Masaya na ako sa grade na 75. Kontento na ako dun sa okay na yan na trabaho. But because one day, you challenge yourself that hindi pwede to. Dapat hindi lang pwede yung okay na, hindi lang pwede yung pasado na, hindi lang okay yung 75 na. So, what did you do is, nag-focus ka sa study mo, nagbigay ka ng enough time para sa study mo, para sa mga modules mo, para sa mga subjects mo, inintindi mong mabuti, and later on, nagbigay ng card from 75, umakyat ng 85. That is transcendence. Transcend, nagbago, transform. You go beyond, nagbago ka from good into better and from better to best. That you think na hindi mo kaya. That is transcendence. For example, in this pandemic, how do you transcend? How do you transform your thinking? Ang tanong doon is, paano mo mapagsasabay ang pag-aaral sa pagtatrabaho? Possible ba yon? That is your limitation. Nag-aaral ka, tapos nagtatrabaho. Ang focus mo ay alin ba? Titimbangin mo, mag-aral o magtrabaho. Pag nag-aral ka, hindi ka makakatulong sa magulang mo sa pagbibigay ng pagkain sa araw-araw to survive. Pero, pagka nag-aral ka, or pagka nagtrabaho ka, may iwanan mo yung pag-aaral mo. So you need to choose. Dalawang mabigat na bagay. Tumulong sa pamilya at pag-aaral. Pag tumulong ka, matitigil ka. Pag tumuloy ka, hindi ka makakatulong. So, how do you balance it? You already have your limitation. But because these two are very important to you, ano ang ginawa mo? You find time for your work and you find time to your study. At dahil doon sa pagtsatsaga na yon, dahil doon sa magandang pagbabalanse ng oras at trabaho, nakakapag-provide ka ng pagkain sa bahay and at the same time, continuous din yung iyong pag-aaral at may maganda kang grades. That is transcendence. Now, fulfilling a goal, sabi niya, fulfilling a goal requires transcendence as it allows us to think and feel that despite the physical and material challenges that we have right now, we can still attain self-actualization, much like Abraham Maslow's The Hierarchy of Needs. Okay. Ano ba yung sinasabing hierarchy of needs? So may bahagdan tayo. Ito ay mga bahagdan ng pangangailangan ng tao. Okay. Sa pinakababa, may nakalagay dyan, that is your physiological needs. These are the basic needs. Ano yun? The air, the water, the food, the shelter, the sleep, the clothing, and reproduction. After that, we will go one step higher, and that is the safety needs, the personal security, the employment, the resources, the health, and the property. Tumaas ka ulit ng isang ladder, that is love and belonging, which is the friendship, the intimacy, the family, the sense of connection. Tumaas ulit ng isang ladder, that is the esteem, the respect, the self-esteem, the status, recognition, the strength, and the freedom. And again, for the last, you have the self-actualization, the desire to become the most that one can be, what you want to be. These are the life stories of transcendence. So transcendence varies across all people and may not happen to everyone. But here are examples of people who have undergone self-actualization despite their physical, material, social, and environmental limitations. Si Nick Vujicic, famous for his inspirational speeches, was born without limbs in his body. So walang kamay, walang paa. However, instead of letting his disability deter his everyday life, he took it as a challenge, using it to change limitations of millions of lives with the same faith that kept him going. He now has founded his own organization called Life Without Limbs. He has released motivational films like Life's Greater Purpose and biography of a determined man of faith. He has also written a book titled Life Without Limits, Inspiration for a Ridiculously Good Life. So, instead na maging hindrance sa kanya yung kanyang situation na walang paa, walang kamay, he became an inspirational speaker. Again, Manny Pacquiao. So, from mahirap na simpleng mamamayan, now, naging isang milyonaryo, and because of his power, because of his strength, he was able to become the world boxing champion in 8 division rounds or in 8 divisions. Then you have the famous Henry C., the owner of the famous SM, the supermarket or the SM malls. So si Henry C., hindi paano siya nagkaroon ng transcendence, paano yung nangyari sa kanya. So nagsimula lang din siya as mahirap, then dahil sa kanyang pagsusumikap, yung challenges sa kanyang buhay ay hinarap niya. May maliit lang siyang tindahan, and this small store has become a mall. And then si Kirby Raimundo. So si Kirby Raimundo ay isang basketball player. Before, Gusto niyang sumali sa Claraa, kaya lang hindi siya nakasali sa Claraa because mayroon siyang failing grades. So ang ginawa niya, nag-aral siya mabuti and then nakasali siya ng Claraa. Ano pa example? Si Saint Paul from the Bible, nagkaroon siya ng transcendence. Why? Noong unang panahon, si Saul, ang pangalan niya nung una ay pumapatay ng mga Kristiyano. So, isang araw, papunta siya ng Damascus, biglang meron nagkaroon, nakakita siya ng isang napaka-liwanag na pangyayari sa kanyang buhay, na bumagsak siya, nakakita siya ng isang sobrang liwanag coming from the sky, and there was a voice which says that, Saul, Saul, why have you persecuted me? And then nabulag si Paul. Pagpasok niya ng Damascus, merong kasing binigay na instruction yung boses sa kanya na pagpasok niya ng Damascus, hanapin niya yung tao na to. So nung nakita niya yung tao na to, nakakita siya ulit. And then it is the time that he recognized that what happened to him was an encounter from God. And then sila Gautama Buddha, di ba? Sila Gautama Buddha, they have searched for truth. They have searched for the meaning of life. And they have found the truth and they have found the life. So that is transcendence. To St. Francis of Assisi, from mayaman, nagpunta siya sa ilang, pinamigay niya yung mga kayamanan niya, namuhay siya ng tahimik, ng simple. That is transcendence. Si San Antonio Abad, mayaman, galing sa mayaman na pamilya, ano ginawa niya? Pinamigay niya yung yaman niya, namuhay siya sa isang ilang na lugar, sa isang kuweba, and then he spent his life there until his death. So these people have transcended. Ito yung mga tao na nakasumpong ng pagbabago sa kanilang sarili, from good to better. So tayo bilang isang simpleng mga tao, bilang isang simpleng mga mamamayan, we can, in our everyday life, we can also choose to transcend, to go with our limitations. From halimbawa, from pagiging tamad to pagiging masipag. From the average type ng estudyante, nag-aral ka na nag-aral, naging honor student ka. From the simple student na tahimik lang, nahihiya, you improve yourself, you perform well, you go beyond yourself, you transcend. Sa isang simpleng tao na hindi ganoon kabilis magbasa, ano ginawa niya? Nag-aral, nag-practice na magbasa, hanggang sa matuto siya magbasa, hanggang sa bumili siyang bumasa. These are all transcendence. These are simple, yet makikita mo yung pagbabago. Yun yung sinasabi ng transcendence. Nagkaroon ng pagbabago from the simple type of being into an average and then to an extraordinary man. So, yun yung sinasabi ng transcendence. Yung pagbabago sa ating sarili na pagka ito ay tinuloy-tuloy natin from the simple student, laging average mo 77, 75, 76, nagbago ka into naging 80 na, naging 81, 82, 83, hanggang sa maging 90 na yung average mo. That is transcendence. Nagkaroon tayo ng pagbabago sa ating sarili. You have realized something that you can go beyond your limitations na, kasi wala akong ganito, kasi wala akong ganyan, kasi mahirap lang kami. Kasi hindi mo pinansin yung mga reasons na ito. Ang ginawa mo is gumawa ka ng paraan kung paano mo siya mapapabuti or kung paano ka makaka-on on that situation. Okay. Do this activity in your note, in a clean sheet of paper. So dalawang activity ang gagawin natin. Ang gagawin lang natin dalawang activity is yung kamay, and then this one. Focus on this on those two activities, yung kamay at saka yung itong activity na to. Okay. Ano ang sabi dyan? Distinguish mere limitations of man from possibilities for transcendence by completing the matrix using the statements below. So having been born in a poor family, let's say, pipili ka ng at least 5. So, halimbawa, pinili mo first 5. Halimbawa, having been born in a poor family, ano ang magiging possibilities of transcendence doon? Mamamatay ka na lang bang mahirap? So, paano mo gagawa ng possibilities na ikaw ay pinanganak sa isang mahirap na pamilya? Ano ang mangyayari? Ano ang possibilities doon? Ano sa tingin mo? Yung pwede mong gawin? So, on the next meeting, di natin gagawin yan. Do not do these activities anymore. On the next meeting, I will discuss about the module 4. I think that is human person and the environment. Okay. So I will be posting this to our GC and to the YouTube, to my YouTube account. Thank you and be safe.